Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the It's Time to Lead Different live stream podcast. My name is Collin Dayley. I'm the CEO of the Circle Leader and the North American lead for Circle Leadership Global. And I'll be your host with my co-host, Dave Clare, who's the CEO and founder of Circle Leadership Global. And today, we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss. We've been discussing internally, and Dave, hopefully you're ready to rock and roll with culture, obviously, and we can also talk about leadership superpowers. And how we can really discover those, uncover them, and then implement them so that they help you and your business grow. So, Dave, welcome, and you want to get us started with any words of wisdom or wit?
Yeah, or wit. Yeah, there's a very thin line for both of those with me. I was just actually so excited. I was working on my article for our newsletter this week on this, theme of its your culture, obviously, and it was deep in research and things for my article. And I'm like, oh crap, it's 8 o'clock already.
Nice.
So I'll use that as definitely my opening commentary, that sometimes when you're so passionate about the work that you're doing, you lose track of time.
There you go.
Yeah.
No worries. I'm glad we're able to be here together. And
yes,
I know the topic that you've been engrossed in is really sort of bringing to the fore really a lot of your life's work into sort of one central concept. And
yes.
Maybe walk us through a little bit about where you've been, your journey to this point, and then let's talk about the insight that you've kind of pulled together, and how it impacts our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. For the first point, and you were gracious in highlighting this for me, is that even though we do this for a living, we're still humans, and we're still constantly evolving ourselves. So, and our thinking constantly evolves. And the work we do with our clients to help them really crystallize and realize or uncover a lot of the soul and DNA of what's buried in their organizations to help them, evolve their world of work, is the same thing we do for ourselves as well. So as practitioners, we, as you say, we eat our own dog food. So we make the dog food, but we also eat it. And so I've been eating a lot of dog food lately to sample the dog food and have me, make better dog food if you want. It might be a really bad analogy, but anyway. We have very healthy dogs, and we're a dog-friendly company, and so we really care deeply about our fur babies. So, and all fur babies out there, we got you. So as I was carving through this, and I guess there was just, sometimes I explain this like a combination lock, right? And we're turning all the combinations, and there's, I don't know if it's the last number or whatever, or there's probably more that the combination just gets longer the further you evolve. But I've been working through some stuff, and you shared some things with me about our narrative of our organization. And then I started, putting new information into my head, which I find the best way for me to evolve my thinking is to put in other thinking that creates a spark. And then all of a sudden this number clicked. And, I was sitting there looking at all the challenges that businesses face today, Collin. So you think like, all the businesses challenges they face today and what they're going to face over the next 5 years. I've created a list of about 12 challenges that business owners and leaders are going to face of different types of categories. But then I thought, well, what's the differentiator in all those things? Like why do some organizations thrive through all these challenges and yet some barely survive, let alone don't?
Yeah.
All right. And I guess for me, that's, I'm always about, epic questions when we start asking, challenging the isness of our business. Sometimes it's the simplest questions that you ask. And I just, and the simpler the question, usually the more epic it can be. And so I just started challenging, like, what's the differentiator? And then I started looking at all our clients, and we look at, we have this amazing civil construction company. And if they're in the market that they're in, if they've got financial pressures, so do most likely the other civil construction companies, but they all have the same equipment, the same, methodologies and processes and, technology platforms. And yes, some are leveraging AI a little better than others right now, but they'll all catch up on all that. So in the end, what's the only thing that differentiates them from another civil construction company in terms of why you would use them and why I would want to work for them? And in the end, it came down to your culture, obviously. And, we've talked about this for many, many years that, your culture is your ability to capture. So, your culture is everything. It's the magnet that can attract and repel. And that this building an invincible culture, this is not stuff we haven't been talking about. It's stuff we have been. But when I started looking at that, then through those clients, then I started looking at all the different things from economic challenges to, some of the things on my list are economic pressures, access to financing, talent war, digital transformation, cyber threats, regulatory stuff, customer expectations, ESG, you name it, supply chains, succession. What's the only advantage the competitive advantage, the sustainable competitive advantage they will ever have in any of those things? And that came back to their people, right? It's the ability to capture the spirit of people. So it's their culture, obviously. But I guess just to wrap that in is we've been talking about it, we have this strong calling that we believe it's time to lead different. We've looked at the way the world is. And I guess this is where the click of the combination came in for me, Collin. I've been going, why is it time to lead different? And I've been saying this since 2017 when I first wrote Simplified, that it's time to lead different. Yeah. And then it's like, well, it's your culture, obviously, because if the culture you have has created the challenges that you're facing right now, or it's the culture you have is dealing with the challenges you're facing right now in the way that you're dealing with them. If you want to deal with them in a different way, then your culture has to shift, right? You have to evolve your culture of your organization. But in order to do that, you can't keep leading your organization the same way that you've led it, because that's built the culture that you have. That's not dealing with at the highest level the challenges that you're having in your business. And that's why it's time to lead different. So when we talk about it's time to lead different and together we can evolve the world of work, well, our calling is to lead different. The movement we want to create is this evolution at work. So we want to evolve the world of work. What's the one thing that sits between those? It's your culture, obviously.
Right.
And so for me, as I was going through this, that is the penetrating statement that needs to cut through the noise and let everybody understand that no matter what challenges you're facing, the only way you're going to survive or thrive through it is your culture, obviously. So your ability to capture your spirit of your people. And so that's the collective deep wisdom that I've been, or insight that I've gathered through all my work over the, I felt like I was having this mad scientist moment or Rain Man moment. I was sitting there boarding and drawing stuff, and everything was just coming out everywhere. And I was sending you and Collin and Jordan stuff everywhere. Gavin stuff everywhere, and I'm like,
I think it's fascinating to watch the process of you sort of galvanizing into one essential statement. All of the ideas and all of the experience that you've had over the last quarter century, and and all the feedback that you've gotten from clients and from the marketplace, and then looking casting that forward, looking at where and how the world is shifting and changing, and coming to this kind of moment. I think it's really fascinating one to watch and to be part of it. But as an outsider looking in, somebody who is dealing with all of those issues right now, and you and we talk about this a lot, but disruption is the current state of our reality, and it will, and it's not going to change, right? I mean that's and everybody knows it.
Right, as a matter of fact, that's about the only change you'll see.
Right, it's just the rapidity of it, but it's constant disruption. And so the question mark isn't how do I get my business to the next normal? It's how do I build my business, and fundamentally, how do I create my beingness, my leadership approach that is stable enough and resilient enough and adaptable enough to be able to weather, actually to thrive in those
Yeah.
conditions. When you come down to it, if you want to capture the spirit of your people, you have to be captured and embody the spirit that you want in your business as well. So let's talk about, because a lot of business owners I talk to say that's all good and well, but how do I do that? And so maybe I open the door for you to talk a little bit about, it starts here from the leader, and that when it's time to lead different, it's first off, it's time to lead yourself different. And then, so maybe talk about where it applies there.
Yeah, it's a really insightful thread that you're pulling here, Collin. So that if you look at your organization, so we said you built this business, right? And then you realize we need to have this business to thrive into the future. Well, this person built that business. So then who do you need to become in order to build this business? So your business will only evolve as much as you evolve, right? So, once again, and this is where then you as the leader, you have to be willing to go first so you can create space and capacity for the rest of your team to go further. So, because otherwise what happens in organizations, we start, helping build our business and evolve, and you haven't evolved. So one of two things happens. Either you get to here and then you put pressure on and push on people because you're not evolving as a leader. And then this is where workplace harassment, stress, anxiety, depression, all these things happen because we're depressing down on people. Or they go, bugger this, I'm out of here. And in today's generation, you're just going to go, I'm out of here, right? People don't leave organizations, they leave leaders. So you have to be willing to go first to create the space and capacity for your team to go further. And because if you want your business to evolve, it will only evolve as much as you do as a leader or your leadership team. You can't keep leading the same way. Therefore, you need to evolve yourself as a person because self-leadership is the first leadership. Right. So if you're not willing to evolve who you are and how you think about things, then don't expect the rest of your organization to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's good. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say, I'm playing along. I'm with you. I am doing my darndest as a business leader to create a culture, what I think is culture, an environment that really supports and theoretically empowers people. And I feel like I'm doing everything I can, but it's not working. When I say not working, I'm still not feeling like my team is pulling all in the same direction. I don't feel like we're moving fast enough toward our goals. I feel like there's constant pressure that competition is just going to eat our lunch tomorrow. So how do I get practical about it's your culture, obviously, right? How do I get practical?
Well, see, the first thing is most people, when I ask them, hey, tell me about your culture. Oh, people love it here. We have a great culture. It's awesome. Like that. And it's all more about how people feel working in a place. It's great. And feeling is a part of how they feel is definitely a part of culture. But what people don't understand is culture is how we think and feel. It's half of a heart, right? So it's how we think and feel about the place that we work at. And so they miss the thinking part. And I was talking to a new client yesterday, actually, and we're talking about this engineering company and really fantastic what they're working on. They have all these kind of tools. They have a purpose, values, vision, mission. As most organizations, they're not. We can help tweak them out a little bit better so they can become better leadership tools. But once again, also part of the things that they have and the reason why, the practical things that they're just not doing right. It's almost like you have all the pieces of the puzzle, but you don't have the picture and you're not sure what the corner looks like or the edges aren't as sharp as they could be to go, oh, that's actually an edge, right? And so we were talking about this and I said, tell me about your values. And he gave me a list of the values. And I said, that's great. And said, so what do each of those mean? He goes, oh, well, we have these really well-defined and it says, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. And I said, okay, so you value this thing and then you do these things, right, to show that you value that thing. And he goes, yeah. I said, okay, now tell me, what do you wish your people would? And he goes, oh, geez, like, I wish they would, come up with new ideas. I wish they would think. I said, so fundamentally, you just wish they would think for themselves. He goes, yes. Like, literally, his whole face went, yes. I just wish they would think for themselves.
Please, I'm begging you.
Yeah, please. Yeah. And then I said, would you like them all on the same page? He goes, yes. Like, okay, great. I said, so here, let me tell you about your organization. First, you have a set of values that tell people what to think. We value this, and that means we do this, we do this, we do this. You have job descriptions. It goes, yeah, absolutely. Everyone has very clearly defined job descriptions and descriptions. And they say, tell me if they sound like this. And he goes, okay, and here's what to do, when to do it, how to do it, who to do it with, where to do it, and the tools you can use to do it. And he goes, yeah. So they have everything they need. I said, everything in your organization is set up to tell your people what to think, not teach them how to think around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So back to culture is how we think and feel. So the thinking of the organization isn't aligned. Now, the other, obviously then we want to get them all on the same page to be able to think within the framework or within that jigsaw puzzle and let people freestyle and finish the puzzle out. But the other thing is you can have all those tools. And if you think about technology, when you put technology in your organization, there's a sequencing of the technology that you need to embed. It's called tech stacking, right? What's your tech stack and how's it built, right? There's a sequence to building a Big Mac, right? There's a sequence to tech stack. And so I said, culture is the same thing. You need to make sure you have your culture stack right. And there's certain things that have to be in sequence that make sense to human beings. And when you do these things in flow in that way, right? Yeah. That's when you start to build that beautiful culture stack that makes sense to humans. Then if you not only, hey, they love working here, but they also understand how to think around here, not what to think. And you put all those things into play, and then you put them on into a framework, which clearly defines where the edges are. So everything outside of that is no, and everything inside that is yes. And then it's just is there a better yes or a better time for that yes? Then all of a sudden, you can take those tools and you have a much more pragmatic approach to taking your culture and then applying it. So the last thing I want to share with on this, and this is really important for business owners and leaders to understand, especially in the economic world we're in today, businesses do not run out of money. They run out of ideas and innovation. And ideas and innovation come from people, not budgets. It's a finding game, not a funding game. And that's all about culture. So it's your culture, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting concept about stacking and the sequencing. You and I and a number of my clients, we've been talking about systems and how everything is really a system. And if we start thinking about our entire leadership approach and our businesses, relative to the systems model, to your point, systems operate no matter what you feel, no matter how you feel, right?
Yeah, the system doesn't care how you feel.
No. And which is like the nirvana, right? For a business owner, we want to have systems that just run and operate and produce results, and they're doing that. The challenge is that the systems we have in place are actually designed inadvertently, the cultural systems, to create chaos or to create frustration or to create disengagement, or all of the sort of dysfunction that happens within business. And we just don't know it because we haven't, as business leaders, we haven't thought about that. So what you just said there is about thinking, really being intentional and thinking through what are the elements of culture, and you've defined a few of them, but the key elements are purpose, values, and vision, right? Which provide the sort of the backbone of something to believe in, someone to believe in, and someone to believe in me, right?
Yes. Yeah. And three things people are looking for from every company.
Right. Which kind of provide the ethos, right? The essence of your culture, right?
Yep.
And then, like you said, then the framework provides the edge, so what everyone knows what to say no to, and then everybody has they're empowered within that framework to find the better yes. So I guess the concept, and I just am exploring this here by just talking it back to you, is that there are those core elements in it, and it really is important on how you layer them together. Like, you don't start with a top layer of the cake and build down. You start from the bottom layer of the cake and build up, right? So it doesn't. So here is this thing, again, practically, right? I'm flowing. I'm working hard, right? My business is chugging along. How do I start to build that bottom layer? What is it that I need to be thinking about in order to really zero in on, getting my culture stack right? Where do you think we start?
By calling Collin Dayley circle leader for USA and
Yes, I realize. And I mean, let's talk. Like,
yeah,
really,
yeah.
where does it start?
The one thing I think where most organizations platitude around, but it's the most important place and where you should start, is obviously purpose, right? Like you gotta get your purpose clear. But tell a lie. In order to get your purpose right, where you have to start is get really clear on, we talk about evolving and staying relevant in the hearts and minds of people you choose to serve. So you really got to get clear on who are the people that you choose to serve first,
Yes.
Right? So if you want to build your culture stack right, you've got to make sure everybody understands who it is that we're here to serve.
Yeah.
Like, this business was set up to serve an ideal client of sorts, right? And I remember one of our great clients now, but when we first started with them, the 6 people in the leadership team, when we asked them that question, 3 different answers came up. 2 people thought this, 2 people thought that, and 2 people thought that. So can you imagine if you're moving your business forward from a senior leadership team with 3 different perspectives on who our ideal client is, and we have this singular strategy in terms of our strategy to build this organization, right. And we're wondering why, it's kind of like I said, it's like having a 6-horse carriage, the old days where you have 6 horses in front of the stagecoach, and
right.
each 2 are pulling in different directions.
Right.
And it's still moving forward.
Right.
Boy, it's burning a lot of energy to do that because they're fighting, get 2 running this way and 2 that way and 2 going like this.
Right.
And so the first thing where you need to start is, are we really clear on who we're here to serve? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, then you need to get clear on definitely on your purpose, which is the problem you're passionate about solving for those people.
Yeah. Right.
So when we talk about, we're here to serve, problem we're passionate about solving for, our passion versus, where it hits their problem. Who's there?
Yeah.
That's where you're going to start. Is everybody clear on who there is? Who is our customer? And what defines a customer? The one who pays.
Yeah. And everyone you impact, but especially the one that you derive your revenue from. I really like that. That is really an interesting distinction. So, the idea of customer centricity has been around for a little while. There's a whole sort of practice model around, being customer centric in your business. But most of that is around marketing, right? Most of it is around, how we communicate with our customer. What I hear you saying, though, is it's not about necessarily how we talk to our customer. It's about literally the reason we're here. The reason we exist is for this person or this group of people, right? And then all the decisions, right? So your purpose itself, what problem you're willing to solve, you're eager to solve for these people who you love, and then how you think about them and how you think about serving them become your values, right? And then the world you see that could be possible for them, right, is becomes sort of the backbone of your vision. Is that fair to say, or am I?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you go back to even from a marketing perspective, Seth Godin, one of the famous people in the world around marketing, he challenged the fact that, like, are you trying to find customers for your products and services or products and services for your customers?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. So the reason business exists is to solve problems for other people. Right. And so who are the other people that we want to serve? And, their problems will evolve and your business can evolve with that as you continue to serve them.
Right.
We're still serving the same people that we always love to serve, that underserviced middle-sized organizations. There's always a lot for small businesses and a lot for big corporates, but who shows the love to the small to medium-sized, the 20 to 200 employee-sized companies?
Yeah.
Most people think they've got it all figured out. But they're the ones that we want to be able to serve. But their needs and things will continue to change, like now with AI and when other things come along, and now there's trade wars and there's all these supply chain things happening, and and so those clients are still people we care deeply about, we're evolving our organization and how we serve them and solve their problems for them. And how we, why we do it is still the same,
Mm-hmm.
but how
Mm-hmm.
and what we do and when we do it can and will always change.
Right. I love it.
So it does come back down to that, being very clear on who you want to evolve and stay relevant in the hearts and minds of. And I have a deep passion for those small to medium-sized enterprises, because they're definitely, we would not say we won't help smaller ones, we won't help bigger ones. We have some clients that are well above that, and many that are less than that. And we can help them, but this is the people here. We're here to,
yeah.
Right? And I think this is where businesses get wrong. They don't have enough clear understanding of who that is.
Yeah. So if we were talking to a client right now, a prospective client, what questions, what 2 or 3 questions would we want to ask them?
Well, the first question I always ask them is, so why does your business exist? Tell me. Right?
Yeah. All right. Good place to start.
Yeah. And then great. And then tell me, so who's your ideal client? Okay, great. And then, tell me about your culture. Like, oh, people love it here. It's great. So tell me about your strategy. Yeah, we've got a good strategy, but so are you executing at the highest level? No, well, we're struggling a bit here and there and stuff. And said, I thought you had a great culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, oh yeah, we've got this new competitor in the marketplace. Great. So I thought you had a great culture. So how are you responding to that? How are you leading that? How are they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the question really is around how do you start thinking about what are the elements of your culture? Where do you start with your reason why, then your who you're serving, and then how you are enabling and empowering your people to deliver on vision. Okay.
So tell me about your values. Tell me about when was the last time you used one of those in play? When was the last time someone came to you and said, "Hey, I was thinking about this, and here's what," and they go, "Oh, they don't." So, if they did, oh, that'd be amazing. Okay, great. So I thought you had a great culture. Well, please understand, there's 2 ways to make people happy in the workplace: pillows and blankets and high performance.
Yeah, exactly, right. And pillows and blankets don't tend to create high performance, so that they're mutually exclusive. Yeah,
but then we also have to ask, one of the other questions, certainly, and you need to ask this of yourselves as business owners, leaders, if you're watching this, is what is it you really care about in your business? Is it profitability? Is it revenue? What's the driver of your business?
Right.
Because you're going to get the behavior that you reward. So people say, "Oh yeah, we've got to drive profitability, and profitability is what is the holy grail." And I'm like, okay, great. And then, do you ever feel like your people only give a crap about a paycheck? And they go, "Oh yeah." Sometimes I just feel like all they care about is coming to work and getting a paycheck.
Right.
So if your business only cares about profitability, you can't be upset when your people only give a crap about making a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
If your business only cares about numbers, don't be upset when your people feel like a number and you're treating them like a number.
Right.
And therefore they'll go for another number somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's no loyalty anymore in business, right? You've experienced this, but there's no loyalty anymore in business. People will leave you for 50 cents. I said, well, that's probably because of your culture, obviously, because you've rewarded the fact that it's all about money. And if you nickel and dime your people, then they're going to go nickel and dime you to go get 50 cents more an hour from somebody else. There's no loyalty. No, you're not showing loyalty, which is why you're not receiving loyalty.
Yeah.
You're loyal to the dollar. You're not loyal to the human.
Yeah. The real question is that is your organization living up to its full potential, and are you actually building a culture that is, as you said earlier, sustainable, or are you building a business that is that's going to be knocked down at the when things really get tough. And
Collin, let's just get really pragmatic about this for people.
Sure.
Okay, let's just pull the empathy, which is obviously a superpower, but let's pull the empathy out of this, and let's just get really pragmatic for a very quick second as we're dying down to the end of time here.
Yep.
Okay. If you think about your business, right, and payroll is your largest recurring expense. People aren't. Payroll is, right? Unless you have raw materials, right? But outside that, payroll is usually the largest recurring expense. And it's usually 33% of, in most businesses on average. I'm just playing with average numbers. So you're paying this amount to have this many humans decide to come into your workplace every day.
Mm-hmm.
So are you getting 100% of what you're paying for?
Yeah. No.
Most businesses, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the human's fault per se.
No.
There'll be some humans because innately they'll just give more regardless how much you take from them. They're always going to give more. And those are the ones who usually get taken advantage of. But you're already, so I say to people, you're already paying, if I'm paying, 70 grand a year for this human being to be here, but I'm probably only getting 50% of what they're capable of. And that's a high estimate because of the infinite capacity of us human beings. But your structure, your process, your leadership, your culture, obviously, is not enabling them to unleash that latent talent and ability that you're already paying for.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
And
you don't have to ask people to give you more. You just ask what you said earlier, just have to ask them to become more of what they're capable of. But you need to create the human being being more of who they can be in your organization. But your organization is thwarting that. And it's your culture, obviously, that's thwarting it.
That's right. Yeah.
So be pragmatic about it. You're paying your largest recurring expense to accommodate having these number of humans in your organization, and you're paying still 100% for that, but you're only getting 50% of what you're capable of getting because your system, your culture stack, is not tapping into the hearts and minds of those human beings in your organization and unleashing that latent talent and ability.
That's the key.
Be as blunt as we can about that.
Yeah, that is the key. So really the message is it's your culture, obviously, and if you pay attention to it, build it and develop it and nurture it intentionally within the right elements, then it will become your key differentiator and your ability to sustain and grow your business no matter what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah. So. And so if anyone listening to this, you go, yeah, okay, great. I'm sold. Culture is the thing. The challenge that everybody has when they go out into the world to work on their culture is being able to define it.
Right.
Because you can't define it, you can't label it, you can't do that. And then there's like 500 different, definitions of what culture is. Oh, we have a heart-centered culture, or we have an innovative culture. What kind of culture would you like? No, if you have the right culture, it should be all those things. You should be heart-centered, it should be innovative. Those are characteristics of your culture, not the culture that you need. We need an innovative culture. We have to shift our culture to an innovative culture, or we need a more heart-centered culture. No, if you have the right culture, you have an invincible culture, it will be all those things.
Yes, and maybe we bring this into our conversation next week, but really the nature of culture is not an outside-in process. It's an inside-out process. It's an organic development process. So there is no
marketing.
Right. No, there's no formula. You can't paint in the numbers and say, oh, there's my culture. It has to actually be organic and come out. So let's make a note and come back and talk more about that.
Next week we're going to talk about the ingredients to defining and building your culture, because it can be done.
Yes.
Right? You can listen to all the cultural gurus out there who tell you, it's this, the soft, fuzzy stuff. There is a way to help craft the way people think and feel around here in your organization that you can create by design, because you have culture anyway. The culture's there by default or circumstance or by design, but you can build one by design that will attract the right talent, retain the right talent. All right. Even in the future, when you'll need less, you'll still need the best.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, Dave. Been stimulating.
Let me get off my soapbox for a second there. Okay.
Yeah. No. You carry. I know you carry a soapbox. It's always within arm's reach. So
yes, just in case I need it.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you all for joining us today. And again, if you would like to learn more, have a deeper conversation, you can reach out to us in our socials, and we are always here to serve you. So with that, we'll wrap it up for today, and then we'll come back next week and carry on the conversation. Thanks again, Dave.
Thank you, Colin. Appreciate you.
Take care.
See you guys.